What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of OCD-60 with your usual hosts, Ben.
And Chase.
And our second ever guest star of the series.
Hi, I'm Nick. I'm actually Ben's dad, so...
Yeah.
I don't know if that's an honor or not, but I am.
Great, we're starting this off perfectly.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm partially responsible for whatever antics he pulls, so...
Fair enough, fair enough.
Yeah.
Now I know who I can blame it on.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The horrible taste in music, that part? Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So, if you guys remember last week, we had Billy on, and we did
Yes.
1976, and now we are doing your favorite year,
Yeah.
1988.
Yeah, so if you've been watching the previous episodes, you know that I've been pretty excited for this one. We actually kind of skewed the numbers a little bit so that we could get this one out of the way. I mean, there was just so much good music this year. I mean, one of the reasons that this year in music is so special to me is that album over there, Operation Mindcrime. That's my favorite album of all time. Definitely my favorite album of the year. So
It was a remarkable album. I mean, it was just ridiculously good in many different ways, you know.
yeah, I remember.
Absolutely.
I remember I saw the video for I Don't Believe in Love on TV, and I was like, I need to hear more of this. And so he was like, okay, here's the album.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's cool because every aspect, it appeals to so many different people. Like, 1988 happened to be the year that I met his mother, believe it or not. And, I was listening to this kind of stuff, but I couldn't get her to listen to anything. But I could get her to listen to Mindcrime, because it's very high-minded. I think at the time they referred to Queensryche as the thinking man's metal band, So it appeals on a lot of ways. The story's very good. I mean, it really is like a rock opera in the truest sense of the term, So,
It's complex, but it's accessible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
high level of musicality. Right?
Yeah, very, very good music.
Very well produced, I mean, a lot of that stuff at the time was not very well produced, and this was very well produced, so.
Oh,
Yeah.
fair enough. And then you do have my favorite album from the year, Injustice for All. No bass whatsoever. It's fine.
that would be probably my vote for second favorite album of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have two copies of that one. I also have an original pressing that I found in Italy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but that's the 30th anniversary super deluxe reissue, so it comes with the remaster, still no bass, but the remastered vinyl, the remastered CD, a DVD behind the scenes, a CD of demos, picture disc of one, replicas of all of the sheets that they wrote the lyrics on, replica tour pass, patches, and then a picture disc of one.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the fun, that not having bass, at the time when I was young, when that came out, I don't think I caught on to not having the bass.
A lot of people didn't, I feel like.
Because the drums were brought up, so you got that bass feel out of the kick drum, right?
Right.
And I found out later, first of all, I was listening on a cassette tape. So, the production quality sounded awful anyway, so wasn't much different than the stuff we were listening to on cassettes elsewhere. But then finding out later, that now it's kind of ruined it for me a little bit. I listened to it, and I'm like, oh, yeah, but they didn't. There's no bass.
No, there's nothing.
You can't hear Jason at all, and Jason was the hardest working dude in the band at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so now, I listen to it, and I'm like, I love this album. It's probably my favorite Metallica album of all time. And then just that knowledge of it has kind of tainted it to me in a way,
Yeah.
And then you find out they were doing it to fuck with Jay. Sorry, I did it already. To mess with Jason, in a way, because they were mad at him for being the new guy, which wasn't his fault. I don't know, the whole it's tainted my appreciation of it. I still think it's their best album. It's the pinnacle of their work as far as I'm concerned,
Yeah, I'm surprised that they still did the exact same thing for the remaster.
It sounds no different, and I don't really like remasters anyway, because I like to hear the music as it was originally heard.
Right.
And so,
It makes sense they didn't, because things broke bad with Jason at the end anyway, right? I mean, so they weren't going to... I don't get the feeling that they were going to throw him a bone by bringing up his bass work,
Yeah.
I mean, but who knows? I mean, I don't know those guys personally, so it's not like I could say what they were thinking.
They make enough money to where it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And maybe it's a thing. Maybe it's famous for not having bass. So
when
they remastered it, maybe they're like, we can't do that. It's kind of like the Cubs kind of ruined by winning finally. The Cubs.
Yeah,
ruined
right. The 108
years,
right.
Like
something like that.
You become famous for something. You're still famous for it. So.
Yeah. We just said that at the exact same time. Jesus.
That sounded weird in headphones.
Yeah.
Speaking of Jason, actually, we have an album by his first band right here next to me, Flotsam and Jetsam. He's not on this album playing, but he wrote a couple songs on it.
Okay.
He left Flotsam and Jetsam after their first record, obviously, to join Metallica.
Yeah, fair. I would too.
Yeah, well, yeah, you get off your bass player and somebody's like, hey, you want to come replace Cliff Burton? Like, okay.
Yeah, it's a positive career
I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll try my best. He actually the other day just said like, I was trying to do my own thing because I couldn't be Cliff Burton, so I was trying to do something completely different.
Well, yeah.
But yeah, so this is their second record, No Place for Disgrace. This is my favorite by them. Also thrash metal, but more like power metal influence. Like
okay.
Much better vocals.
Sure.
Than most thrash metal bands at the time.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
let's see what else. What's this Overkill album over here?
Oh, Dad, I'll let you tell that story.
I haven't heard of them either.
Man, that's a great album. I think you gotta kind of like it's an acquired taste a little bit because the vocals are very. I don't know how'd you describe it, Ben? Screechy almost.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's very high pitch. It's very, definitely you notice it. But I mean, I found that tape. That might even be my tape.
It's the CD, but yeah, it's
okay.
your CD, I think.
Okay. I was working in a music land at the time when you had to actually go someplace and buy music, right? And like I tell Ben, if you were into metal back in the late '80s and anything other than just the cheesiest, worst hair metal, like you could hear Poison and Warrant on the radio and see it during the day on MTV, but everything else, Anthrax and these other bands, other than Queensryche kind of crossed over, but it was hard to hear it. It was considered unradio playable. No radio station would carry it. They were oftentimes long songs, which made them unradio playable, and MTV wouldn't show it during the day, and you had to wait until Saturday night for Headbangers Ball, and it was a 3-hour show, and you had to get through the first hour and go past midnight before they finally started playing what you would think of as real metal.
Okay.
Playing all that glam metal stuff. Anyway, so how this story got there? So I was working in that music shop, Music Land, and you would just buy stuff and hope you liked it. You go to the metal section and you look at it, and it was all word of mouth stuff. And this kid came in, and I remember like he's looking at stuff, and he's like, I'm going to buy this tape. It looks cool. I'm like, I've never heard it, dude. I can't help you. He goes, it looks cool, and I think you should buy it too. And, on a discount, like, yeah, whatever. So I just bought it,
Yeah.
And, it turned out to be really good. I really liked it. It played in my, I must have had it on tape because it played in my car for a long time. I had an old Mercury Lynx that only had a cassette tape.
Yep.
Initially, I had an AM-only radio, and then I had to put a cassette player in it. But that would play forever in my car. I loved that album. And I remember, like, I showed it to, I briefly took piano lessons from a music teacher at the high school, and he was like, so what do you like, what are you into, and I told him I can't at the time I told him I couldn't stand U2, and he loved U2. and
they released an album this year, I think.
I believe so.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
And so I played this for him, this particular tape, and he looked at me, he goes, what is this? It's so dark. Like I don't get it. Like, you seem like a happy guy. Why are you listening to this stuff? It's awful. He did not appreciate it at all. And I think if you were a connoisseur of music, I think the first time you heard it, you might be like, I don't know about this. But
fair.
Yeah.
It hits you very hard and heavy. It comes quick, and like I said, the vocals grading, I think, is a good.
If you listen to Exodus, it's
exactly.
But it's more than Exodus. It's like Exodus to the nth degree of Exodus.
It's dirty. It's grungy. I mean, grungy, not Seattle grungy, but it's like dirty grungy.
Yeah.
Kind of
I mean, they have a song on the album called "Hello from the Gutter."
Yeah.
If you open up the liner notes, it's literally just lyrics and credits. There's no artwork. There's a picture of the band and the artwork on the top. That's it.
Yeah, and very kind of, I don't know. They had a label, right? But it definitely had like a do-it-yourself kind of feel to it. Right?
Yeah, I believe that record was on Megaforce, which was where Metallica got started.
And they were an East Coast band, right?
Yeah, with Anthrax, who's also right here. State of Euphoria. I saw them 3 years ago, actually, around the 30th anniversary of that album.
I saw them. I saw them with
Public Enemy.
there you go, Public Enemy. Thank you. Yeah, 91 tour. They were trying to bridge the whole metal rap gap before that was really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, Faith No More was doing it, but they were the only ones.
Faith No More.
But it was less of a musical experiment than a social experiment. Like, they were really trying to get long hair white boys and black boys to hang out together.
Yeah.
So, which, metalheads and rap kids did not talk to each other.
No.
You know? And so they went on a tour with Public Enemy and their opening band. So they each got to bring their own opener. And so Anthrax opener, I remember I was at Champaign, I was at Assembly Hall, I was up in the nosebleed seats, and this band comes out and they start playing. I had never heard anything like this. I'm like, what the heck is this? And this dude's just wailing away on this bass, sounding crazy. Well, it was Primus. And it was Primus about 6 months before they really kind of hit,
Gotcha.
And it was just crazy, I remember walking away, like, I'd never seen anything like this in my life, But and the only other thing I was really disappointed with Anthrax when I saw them, because I was at University of Illinois, which, at the time, because they were using Chief Illinois as the mascot. It was a big, big controversy, and they finally got rid of the Chief as a mascot. They're still the Illini. But it was they were paying tribute to the native peoples who lived there, but it was controversial because it still is Native Americans as mascots, and I get it, I understand it, but they did not play Indians, which I don't know how you missed that. You're in Champaign in the middle of this controversy and you don't play Indians,
Right.
So I was really disappointed about that, but
Yeah.
it was a great show though. I remember that show was awesome.
They're one of my favorite bands I've seen. State of Euphoria is actually probably my second favorite Anthrax record, though. The one before this, Among the Living, I like more. This one is more of a straightforward thrash record, whereas Among the Living is like punk, actually. Like, just fast, ridiculous. They're a lot more fun than a lot of other bands, though. And
you were always laughing when you can't listen to them and not have a smile on your face. It's fun to just bang your head, like Metallica, Justice for All, very intellectual. I mean, and they're making a political statement, and I think in Justice for All they did a really good job of showing that these long-haired metal kids can be relevant, that they aren't just know-nothings, and they're singing. It's an anti-war album, it's a concept album, and this idea that that we could be intelligent, that we could have an opinion that mattered, But Anthrax was not that. Anthrax was like, no, fuck it, man. We're gonna party. We're just gonna party, and we're gonna we're gonna bang heads and get in the mosh pit and have a good time, and that's good enough. And there's a lot of value to that too, like music for enjoyment's sake alone.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and the thing about Anthrax is One World is an anti-war song, and you have Make Me Laugh, which is about religion. But it's still just fun to listen to.
Yeah, and they did Schism too.
Yeah, Schism.
Was that on this album?
That was on State of Euphoria.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know. Like Anthrax, every time I hear them, I'm just happy. And it's when you listen to it, you don't know why you're happy, because it is kind of dark, it's heavy, it's fast, it's thrashy, but it's just fun to listen to,
And they all have a lot of personality. Scotty in very much
he's
so.
He's a maniac, right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Is that thunder that we're hearing? That it is. Okay.
Wow, I didn't expect that to get picked up.
That's our.
We're on a thunderstorm watch right now. So.
I'm getting tired of this weather.
Yeah.
I say if you're around us, at least. Well, from when you guys are hearing this, it'll be 2 weeks.
Yeah.
We had the 2 tornadoes in week, and that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I'm getting tired of it already.
Thank God this climate change is a hoax. I start getting worried.
I remember when we talked about this year, you were excited to talk about Jane's Addiction.
Yeah. Oh, God, yeah.
Yeah, nothing shocking, their first record.
Which is a funny name because it was completely shocking.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Right. I mean, I remember the first, so I had a friend of mine, Mike Gutman, and his sister was older than us, and she was way cooler than I ever was, right? And she was, and she had that album on tape. I say album, but it was everything was listened to on tape, and it was everything. You bought everything on tape because,
you could.
Well, because CDs were expensive.
Right.
CDs were $9.99 a piece, and a tape was $4.99. And nobody I knew drove a car that had a CD player in it.
Right.
So why would you buy music you couldn't listen to while you were driving? So, but she had the tape, and he stole it, and then brought it, and we listened to it, and I kept it for a long time. And I remember just listening to it, like hearing Mountain Song.
Yeah.
Had a Dad, and just like completely dumbfounded. Like I had never heard anything like this before. It was, the true wall of sound coming at you.
Yeah.
And kind of unmusical in a way, but still very engaging. And it just like it just sounded like sound, like just coming at me. I mean, it did have melody, but it just sounded like this is like overwhelming blast, sonic blast in your face. And I don't know, it was very interesting and very engaging. I just fell in love with it. And there's some stuff on it I still don't, And here's the weird thing about that album too. Like you go from Mountain Song, which is still a jam, right? Like that bass line that starts, just it's and then Summer Song, which is real sing-songy and it's quiet and kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Very interesting album. I loved it. Still love it. And probably the only Jane's Addiction album I really like.
Well, yeah, because I mean, I grew up in a world where Jane's Addiction is Dave Navarro's the dude from Ink Master, and everybody knows Jane Says and Been Caught Stealing. So when I first actually listened to Nothing Shocking, it was hard for me to reckon that band with what I just listened to, because they're so astronomically different.
No, absolutely. I mean, years after this, and they were like, yeah, no, Dave Navarro, he's going to be a good fit for Red Hot Chili Peppers, and that was not the case.
Who also released an album in '88, my favorite Chili Peppers record, Mother's Milk.
Yep.
Love that album.
Again, like, hard to reckon Mother's Milk with Californication and By the Way.
Totally different band almost. But they were hanging with George Clinton at the time, right?
He either produced that one or the one right before it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So because that had Subway to Venus, right?
Yeah, and Johnny Kick a Hole in the Sky.
Yeah, I remember I heard that, so I bought that on recommendation, And like I said, you couldn't nowadays if you want to check, you just quick
look it up.
Yeah, look it up and you can hear it. Like you really kind of went on faith, I'm just gonna spend my money on this and hope I like it. And so I was expecting something hardcore. Like I had been listening to hardcore stuff, and so I was like, you got to pick up this album. And I think, maybe some punk friends of mine, and so I was expecting something, hard, and what I got was this funk album, and really funky funk album, like really strange. And I liked it, I enjoyed it, but it was definitely a departure for me from what I was, I was listening to Anthrax and Metallica and Queensryche and Overkill, and then
I'd say that's a pretty drastic change.
Yeah, but that's good, right? You need to be pushed out of your box.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Another album that's unlike anything I've ever heard before, right here, Ministry, Land of Rape and Honey. I saw them open for Slayer. Loudest show I've ever seen, just over the top. And so Ministry is from Chicago.
Right.
Ministry is an industrial band, but they are not an industrial band in the way that Nine Inch Nails or Marilyn Manson is industrial. They are just noise, like as harsh as possible, and that's kind of their goal. And it's just all samples and drum machines and just buzzy, overblown guitars. And this is probably my favorite record of theirs.
Yeah, it's an assault on the senses.
Yeah.
But that's not how they started.
They started as a synth pop band.
Yeah, they were
really?
Yeah, total Depeche Mode ripoff.
Did not know that.
And they did it on purpose. At least my understanding of it at the time when it came out, because this was the first industrial one.
This was the second.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, there was one that was kind of still kind of poppy, but
yeah, when they made that switch, they said, we messed with you, we got your money, now we're gonna make the music we want to make.
Right.
They did it intentionally. They made up that we're gonna sell music that's sellable to them
make music
that we want.
Yeah.
So it was kind of a prank on the entire music industry at the time, because I think Every Night is Halloween, right?
That was the big single.
Dun, dun.
Yeah. That was the big club single. Yeah, and then this came out, and it's just harsh, noisy.
I don't think I owned that one. I owned
the next one.
Yeah.
Psalm 69.
Yeah, there you go. That's the one they had. Yeah.
No, REM came out with an album that
Yeah,
year.
Green.
And
yeah.
in my opinion, it came in between their two best albums.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Document and then Out of Time.
Yeah.
So, like, I always felt like that one got overlooked.
Yeah. Well, and
At
like,
least for the people that I talk to.
yeah, and like what a lot of
I don't
people
know what it was like actually as it was released, but
what a lot of people don't realize is that REM was deep into their career by the time they like made it. By the time Losing My Religion came out, they had already been around for over 10 years.
Yeah, they were an indie band, you know, they were college radio bands.
Yeah.
You know. But, you know, like, I don't know, like, for me personally, there wasn't a lot of overlap for me. The only place I heard Green was on MTV, right?
Mhm.
Like that's not an album I would have bought because, you know, you definitely, like 88, like you definitely went into your musical camps. You know what I mean? Like the long-haired kids, you know, and the punk kids, like they didn't talk much. There wasn't a lot of crossover, you know. I mean, nowadays, you know, obviously with Apple Music, it's great because you can listen to anything, you know. But you know, you kind of stayed in your musical camp a little bit, you know. So I knew Green was around, but I didn't listen to it, you know, which is kind of weird. So like, you know, I don't. It's just a different time, you know. Like, and the way you consume music is different now than it was in '88. And it affected the way music was. Because you consumed it differently, you thought about it differently. Does that make sense?
yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like I think, like, you know, so I don't know, it's kind of an interesting concept. So everything, you know, like all this metal stuff, like you listen to it on tape, right? So when you listen to stuff on tape, it's so hard to move from one track to the next, right?
Yeah, no, it's one.
Right, you got to fast forward, and then you know you get to the end of side A. You got to make a decision. Are you rewinding all of side A, or are you going to flip the? You know, so you wound up discovering the whole album.
Oh yeah,
right? You know what I mean? Like you listen to the, you know, you put it in your car while you're driving. You wound up listening to the entire side because you couldn't be moving through tracks.
No, you're driving.
You know, whereas now, like, you know, you're just listening to the singles off of an album.
Yeah,
you
and
know?
that's such a big change.
And it's so not fun.
No, absolutely. I mean,
Yeah.
like, because I couldn't tell you if I tried, because I have one playlist that I listen to all the time, and then I have a side playlist like my EDM stuff,
Right,
but
yeah,
I don't like mixing that with everything else, because that's a completely different vibe for me. You know, like my main playlist has like over 1,000 songs in it.
Yeah.
And it is a mixture of everything.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's no way I could have done that before.
No,
Yeah.
like, no.
Like-
I mean, at most, okay, like you could get a CD changer, and some like really, you know, well-to-do people would put a 6-disc CD changer in the trunk of their car, like, and so then you were still committed to those 6 CDs,
Right.
man. So if you were on like a long road trip, you had 6 CDs going, and that was it, man, because you weren't going to the back of your trunk to change out discs.
No.
Right.
You know, but you know the thing about being forced to listen to the entire album, like there were songs that maybe initially you thought,
Yeah.
you know, but then you hear them over and over, and you start to realize, like, oh, you know,
Right.
that is a cool song. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
You know, and so that's how like Justice is such. You know, the whole album is fantastic.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like there isn't a song on there that I don't like. You
No.
know, but if I think now. You know, if that came out now, I don't know if anybody would get past 1.
Yeah.
I mean, really, honestly,
Yeah.
right? You know,
Yeah.
Especially considering it was their first music video.
it was.
Yeah.
And they said they were never going to do one.
Yeah.
You know, and people were really kind of upset with them for doing it. You know,
That's fair.
Fantastic
and
video.
I remember then that video came out. Oh my God! I was at my friend's house, and we're having a party. Well, not a party, but we're staying there overnight because I couldn't drive yet, so we were just riding bikes everywhere. But we were all staying there, and we were staying up late to watch that video because it was going to premiere on the Headbangers Ball, like at midnight, right? You know.
Yeah.
And I watched that video, and it was terrifying. Right? Like it's a terrifying video, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a 10-minute long song, and it's just dark. And like I got done watching it, like I remember thinking like it was amazing and like horrifying at the same time.
Yeah.
You know, because it's so dark. You know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Just,
Masterpiece of a music video, though.
It is very well done. Yeah.
Absolutely.
You know.
Almost like cinematic.
Right.
Well, and
What movie was it taken from?
Johnny Get Your Gun, which is what the song is based on.
Right.
I thought it was Johnny Got His Gun.
Yeah, it's something like that, yeah.
Okay.
Which was originally a book,
Yeah.
and they actually bought the rights to the movie.
They
right?
own the rights to the movie. So if you bought the VHS back in the day, it came with the video, but then also the movie. They were like, here, have the movie because we just own this.
Oh.
Yeah.
I was gonna say I did a project on it in like middle school, and so I used to know all about it, but also that was like middle school, so like I don't remember.
I mean, it's a fantastic video, and like again, when you think about what was going on in '88, you know, music wise, you know, and everything was about the video, right? You know, I mean, there was the music, but what was selling was the videos, you know, because MTV was so big and they actually showed music videos. And you would come home from school and you would watch MTV, right?
Yeah.
You know, that was like, you know, your radio, you know, and but there was, you know, a lot of that stuff was just cheesy and poppy and glammy and, you know, like, you know, I mean, it was Paula Abdul in '88 when she's dancing with the cartoon. It might have been around that time. You know? I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, props for Paula Abdul, but you know, my point is like, you know, you watch that video, like it said something, like it was intense. It was an anti-war statement, which is funny because we weren't in any official wars then.
No.
I mean, the first Gulf War might have been 80. No, that was like 90, 91. So, but I mean, we weren't in any official wars then. But here they are, like singing this anti-war song, and then the video is more impactful and more powerful than the song itself. Yeah. You know. Yeah. Again, the idea that these guys could be relevant, that they could have something to say that was important. You know.
Yeah. Another one of my favorite records is that one over there close to you, Chase. Can't believe we haven't talked about it yet, but No Rest for the Wicked by Ozzy.
Oh my God, what a great album.
That's my favorite Ozzy record. Zakk Wylde is just insane. And I love Randy Rhoads. I couldn't be a guitar player that plays the kind of music I do and not love Randy Rhoads, in all honesty. But Zakk Wylde just honestly kind of revolutionized Ozzy's sound, too. Because that record, No More Tears, and Osmosis are way heavier than anything Ozzy had done before. And it's because of Zakk and his guitar tone and the kind of riffs that he was writing.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because, you know, you could arguably say Ozzy Osbourne with Black Sabbath created heavy metal.
Yeah.
Okay. And then by No Rest for the Wicked, he's kind of getting dragged along by his own creation, right? like he's becoming heavier because the industry has brought him there.
It's like, hey, you know, come here.
Isn't it kind of weird? You know, like kind of like leashed himself to a tiger a little bit. You know?
Yeah.
But
you know, because we were both at that concert as well, right?
Yeah, No More Tours too.
Yep.
Yeah. And then he was there too.
Yeah, that was the.
Yeah. I mean, it was a great album. I mean, and then when you think like it starts with Miracle Man, right, which is about Jimmy Swaggart, right? Like, so Jimmy Swaggart had said horrible things about heavy metal, and again, back in the like there was legitimate conversation that this stuff was bad for you, right?
Oh,
like, like you were going to kill yourself because you listened to heavy metal. You know?
Priest went to court over it.
Yeah, right. You know, and Jimmy Swaggart was one of those guys, you know, and then he gets caught in this sex scandal, right? And so that's why the first thing is Miracle Man, and it opens with Ozzy laughing at him. Yeah. And so just really, you know, again, poignant, right? And, you know, I'm not going to say that Ozzy, you know, is a great philosopher at the time, you know, but he had been dismissed by a lot of people, right? And here he is. He's got like this poignant point to say, you know, that you think I'm such a bad person. You're no better.
Right.
Yeah.
At least Ozzy's up front. You know, Ozzy was a philanderer. Like he did mess around and he did do drugs. You know, but he was up front about it. He could at least claim honesty, right? These guys were hypocritical, and so many more of them since have been that. You know, been found to be that way. The Baker scandal was right around there. Tammy Faye. So.
Yeah, I remember. So the first time I heard that record all the way through, I was like 12 years old, and he was like, "Oh, you should buy No Rest for the Wicked. That's the best Ozzy album." I was like, "Okay," and yes, it is the best Ozzy album. But I was at my friend's birthday party. Chase, you heard this story. I told it to you when we were hanging out the other day. I was at my friend's birthday party, and we were smacking each other with tree branches, as you do. And one of my friends throws his back to the wood pile as we're all walking back, and I'm behind the rest of the group, and it hits me right here. And so now I'm standing in the middle of the road bleeding out of my eye. And so since he's a paramedic, I text my mother. I'm like, show this to Dad, because I know he doesn't have his phone on. I'm like, show this to Dad. Do I need to go to the hospital? She didn't even open the picture or show it to him. She's like, he's coming to get you now, and you're going to the hospital. I'm like, okay. And so we listened to that record on the way to the hospital. So I will always remember that record that way.
Yeah, it's a great album. Still a great album. And coincidentally, I think it was my first Ozzy album.
Yeah, it was the first full one I bought. So.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Speaking of the Ozzy concert we were both at, New Jersey came out that year, so we were both at that
At Bon Jovi concert.
the Bon Jovi concert in 2010.
Not as good as Slippery When Wet.
No, not by any means. It was a lot more ballady, I feel like New Jersey was.
Yeah, not
But
I mean, it's good.
it's good,
but Slippery When Wet is their best.
Oh, absolutely.
Speaking of not as good, kind of moving into hair metal a little bit, and speaking of not as good as the one that came before it, GNR Lies is over on the table there.
Yeah.
There was no way it was going to be as good as Appetite. Let's just get that out of the way.
Oh no.
And I bought that out. I bought that tape, and
That might be yours, actually.
it probably is. And like I had Appetite for Destruction, which I don't think you can overstate how impactful Appetite was.
Oh no, I still think it's possibly the greatest debut album of all time. Like
for sure, and just impacted music industry. I mean, what it did for hard and heavy, rock was more dirty, and it was just a good album anyway. But I bought Lies, and I remember being at that time I would have been 15 years old when Lies came out, and not having any kind of expertise in music, no training, even as a young 15-year-old, I recognized this was hastily put together. Like it just it was just like, let's quick get something out, and Patience is like the only song off that anybody knows.
Yeah,
right?
but I Used to Love Her is the best one off of there.
Yeah, but I mean, like the whole backside is acoustic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at first, I was like, oh, they're trying to show that they their chops, that they and now I realized that it was probably just laziness.
Yeah.
I just cut out. So.
Your headphones?
Yeah, my headphones are cutting out. But it was probably just them fleshing out songs in the studio, and then just hit record and we'll do this.
Yeah, seriously.
They needed more money for that brownstone.
Yeah. Well,
that's probably what it was.
And then you had Use Your Illusion, which then took 3 years to come out.
But that was so good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was so good. And it was amazing, but unfortunately it was
wrong time.
Wrong. Yeah, but nobody had any appetite for that stuff anymore because of what happened in '91, right?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a great. I bought both of those too on tape.
I still have those as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to pre-order them.
Did you really?
Yeah, I went to this music store. I was at U of I at the time. I went to the music store and pre-ordered them, and I think they were sold out on pre-order. But yeah.
Over there next to you, Chase, is a King Diamond album. That's actually, I'm surprised that I found an original of that, and it's not a picture disc because most of his records are picture discs. But so King Diamond, originally the lead singer for Merciful Fate, then went solo, and all of his solo records are concept albums. So this one is about, it's kind of like The Shining. It's about King playing himself as a child, his sister and his mother living in this house that his grandmother used to live in. She comes back from the mental institution and starts talking to the ghosts that live in the house, and it progresses from there.
Gotcha.
But King Diamond is very high concept storytelling, basically just an auditory horror movie.
Yeah,
is what most of his albums are.
Well, and right at the time, he was a true Satanist too, and
which
there
was
weren't that many of them,
that
would admit to it.
And he was upfront, like, I'm a Satanist.
Yeah,
what you gonna do about it?
Yeah, I never listened to him, but I remember, kids that I was in classes with talking about, like, because at the time, they were making claims that like Motley Crue were satanic and Slayer, and they used satanic imagery, but they weren't really into that, right? Like there was shock value. And they're like, but King Diamond, that's for real with him. And I was like, it wasn't like I was off. Like, okay, I'm done. But so.
The Danzig album next to you.
Yeah. So this record, actually, I don't really know why, but it's considered an unofficial pressing, even though it's pressed by Deaf American, which is the record label. Rick Rubin's record label, I think. I want to say.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that. But which is their label that this was originally recorded with, originally pressed by, and it's considered a bootleg. I really don't know why, and I can't find anything about why. Anyway, Danzig's first solo record, which I love the Misfits, but this is way better than anything they ever did. Way more musical. And kind of like the precursor to Typo Negative, who I think is better than Danzig, obviously. But yeah, Danzig solo stuff is very unique, really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good stuff. Like almost like comically dark.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like,
over the top.
right. Like it's like comic book heavy metal in a way.
Yeah.
Like, you know, but yeah, Mother. I mean, how do you not?
Like that song.
Yeah, how do you not? I mean, how do you not bang your head to that song when it comes on? You know.
Yeah.
I didn't realize he was that short. I just remember watching the videos, like, man, that dude's built, you know. And then I didn't realize he's like 5'1" or something like that.
5 foot. Yeah, 5'3".
5'0" nothing. So
Yeah.
you know, there's only two height for men, right? There's above 6 foot and short. So
Yeah.
Right.
But,
Luckily, I'm right at 6 foot.
Yeah,
so.
me too.
okay, good. So we're all above 6 foot.
Yep.
Yeah.
None of us are short. So.
There's a funny picture out there of Glenn Danzig. I don't know if he was playing with Typo Negative or if Peter Steele was playing with Danzig, but Peter Steele famously was very tall. He was like 6'7", I think. He might have been even 6'9". He was super tall. Also built like Danzig, but actually what Danzig wanted to be.
Yeah.
And so there's a picture of Glenn Danzig next to Peter Steele, who's over a foot taller than him, and he just looks like a little dwarf.
Oh man. Have we covered everything up here?
No, there's actually a lot of these tapes that we haven't covered.
Oh, yeah, some of the tapes get hidden from where I'm sitting.
My favorite Maiden album, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son.
Oh, yeah.
Probably the first full Maiden album I bought, I think.
Another concept album. I mean, wasn't 88 like the year for concept albums? I mean,
in heavy metal,
It seems like it.
Like 4 concept albums up here, you know.
Yeah.
And it was a great album.
Yeah, it's kind of Iron Maiden at the most Iron Maiden. I mean, it's a concept record about seventh son of a seventh son and the end of the world and stuff. My mom always jokes that he sounds like Jack Black and Tenacious D.
Well, sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure Jack Black is modeling himself after that.
Yeah, and Dio. But yeah, that's a great one. Forbidden Evil by Forbidden. That's definitely way more underground. That's kind of like technical thrash. Like, let's just see how fast and technical we can play. Kind of like next to it, Megadeth. That's actually my favorite Megadeth record. That has In My Darkest Hour and 502.
502 is a good one, yeah.
And then is that another Megadeth?
No, that's Testament. Have you ever listened to Testament?
No.
Testament is kind of like Megadeth, but with catchier riffs and James Hetfield on vocals.
Gotcha.
So that's my favorite Testament record, The New Order.
Oh, my contact is bad because now it's like focusing in and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that is not what that says.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah.
whew.
Up there is Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 2 by Halloween. Halloween just came out with a new record this year and it's awesome. So if you like Halloween or if you're interested in anything that sounds like early Queensryche or even more over-the-top fantasy Iron Maiden, go check out the new Halloween record. They're ridiculous. I'm just going to come out and admit they are cheesy, over-the-top 80s hair metal.
Was Halloween from Chicago?
No, they're from Germany.
Okay,
Germany.
I'm thinking of someone else. It might be a band called Halloween or something from
I believe there might have been a band called Halloween from Chicago.
I remember my dad saying something about it, but I've never heard of them before that, so.
Yeah, but that's a good one. I like Keeper of the Seven Keys Part 1 more, but that one's pretty good. What the hell is next to it? Oh, Survive by Nuclear Assault. That is Anthrax's original bassist.
Okay.
Definitely way more punk, like Suicidal Tendencies, who also released an album this year. Not this year, 1988, I mean.
Yeah.
My favorite album by them, How Will I Laugh Tomorrow When I Can't Even Smile Today? Way more, like, technical than you would expect from them.
Okay.
Way more like songwriting than just like if you've heard Institutionalized or Subliminal, which are just basically punk songs with a little bit of thrash playing. That one's way more interesting. And then, don't get me wrong, I love their first record. And then in the middle is OU-812 by Van Halen.
The second Hagar album.
Yeah. Not as good as 5150.
No, this is controversial. I really like 5150, and a lot of Van Halen aficionados, anything past
1984.
Yeah, they're done with it. But I really like 5150. It's just and it took me a while to warm up to it. I bought it, and I remember not caring for it, because it didn't feel heavy, right? Like I was looking for something heavy, and it wasn't, But I just listened to it more because it was in my car playing, and warmed up to it, and then really began to really enjoy it just for what it was. I think there's some really good songs, and I really liked Van Halen with Hagar. I think they got really much more sophisticated over the years. But
speaking of which, Skyscraper came out that year
by David Lee Roth.
Yeah.
No one remembers that record because it didn't have Yankee Rose on it.
No.
Steve Vai, I think, was still on that one though.
It did have Just Like Paradise though.
Yeah.
That was. I think that was the biggest one off of.
David Lee Roth's solo stuff is okay. It's only. The most interesting thing about it to me is that Steve Vai played with them.
He's one of those guys, his personality got in the way of his career. Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean? Just if he could just stop being David Lee Roth long enough, then
people would take him seriously.
Yeah, he would, and I think then things came out with Van Halen afterwards, who was more at fault, David or Eddie, or, and as so often happens with all these bands where you have artists working together, the personalities just don't mesh,
Yeah, and David Lee Roth's solo stuff is. Everybody forgets about it.
Eat 'em and Smile, man.
Eat 'em and Smile. I have that one on tape, I think.
I'm sorry.
I wish I had Just a Gigolo, because I hate that song.
Nobody ever said that.
I hate that song, but it's become a guilty pleasure. It's so ridiculous.
What is this? Lap of Luxury by Cheap Trick came out.
Okay.
Which I've actually never listened to this record. So.
I don't think I've heard any Cheap Trick past the stuff that was on Live at Budokan.
Okay.
After that.
Didn't they do a cover on that album? They did some 50s doo-wop cover or something. I don't know if it was on that album or not.
It probably was.
I wish I could remember, but...
Also in '88, totally different, but Tracy Chapman's first record came out in 1988.
Wow.
With Fast Car on it.
That was really good. That was really good. I remember selling that in the music store. That was really good. And it was for me, it was like I said, you get stuck in your musical camps, especially at that age, 15, 16 years old. But I remember listening to that because I saw it on MTV and just blown away by, just the songwriting capabilities. Yeah. But also then, if you want to get off of rock and metal, I think Straight Outta Compton came out in '88.
Yep.
Two Live Crew came out in '88. And those were, obviously rap, but the thing about two was I think maybe it was the explicit lyrics. Did that thing happen in '88 with Tipper Gore?
Yeah, probably, because that's when Mother came out, and that's what that's about.
Because we had to put all that stuff in the back behind the counter.
Right,
and
right.
If you came in, you had to show me your ID that you. And I was 16, and I'm making you prove you're 17 to buy this.
Yeah.
But. I just sold my stuff to my friends.
I was gonna say that's how those jobs go, it seems like.
But I remember we had a big end cap of Straight Outta Compton right out there in the front, so people would walk past and they would buy that. But Public Enemy.
I think they might have come out with a record in '88 because they were a little bit before all that. They got started a little bit before all that. There was another.
AC/DC and Poison both came out with an album, but we're just gonna skip.
Yeah, we're
over
gonna
those.
skip over both of those.
But hold on. So like '88, that's the thing though. So you got Justice for All, you got Queensryche, you got Justice for All. I think is the pinnacle of thrash metal, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
And in that whole time frame, Appetite came out a year before, so you had this really like metal really showing what it could do, Ozzy's, No Rest for the Wicked, really showing here's what we can do. and at the same time, so it's like it's reaching its pinnacle, and at the same time, the seeds to their own destruction are being born right then, right?
Yeah.
Because you got Poison coming out, and Warrant, and all this like crappy, shitty hair metal that's just, you know, made to be consumed but not really enjoyed, right? You know, Britney Fox.
Cinderella came out with an album in '88.
Yeah, Cinderella can't. You know,
See, I like that album, Long Cold Winter.
I actually had that.
I think I
It's
own
not
it,
bad.
actually.
Here's the problem with like then they all had to get into the metal ballads, right?
Yeah.
You know, like you know, when the first couple times, I don't know who the first one. I mean, Kiss did one with
Kiss.
Beth.
Crew. Home Sweet Home.
Yeah, so the first couple times, like, it was unique, it was interesting as a change of pace, and it showed their depth of emotion, whatever you want to call it. But then it just became a cliche. So now you had the most cliche bands
doing the most cliche
Poison,
thing.
and that's all they wanted to do. You know, every rose has its thorn. Like, you know, go back to '88, gag me with a freaking spoon, right?
Yeah, those are.
It's that bad, you know. So it was weird. You had you know, this was, I think, the transition. You know, like metal doing what it can do and getting as good as it can get at that moment, right? And at the same time, like I said, the seeds of their own destruction. Because I think if it weren't for Warrant and Poison and Firehouse and those silly bands, you know, in '91, I loved '91. It was a great year, great musical year, you know. But I don't think that grunge stuff from Seattle would have been nearly as impactful if people weren't so fed up with this nonsense that was being pushed out by these record labels.
Right.
You know? And like I said, it was the worst of corporate music. Right?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And it just, you know, paint them up with long hair and you know.
They were boy bands with long hair.
They really were.
Yeah.
They were corporate bands, and it was awful music, you know. And the girls liked it, you know.
Oh, yeah.
And that's all they cared about, because the girls would drag their boyfriends to it, you know. But
Yeah.
it was just awful.
And then you got what is it? Steel Panther now that are just kind
making fun of it.
I was gonna say that's all they do is just make fun of it, but like.
But they recognize it at least, right?
Yeah.
Like it's kitschy, right? You know, like
it's a
that's
joke.
Like Poison and Warrant, like they didn't get it.
No.
You know, I mean, so like, you know, like when Def Leppard was doing it, early '80s, late '70s, early '80s, like it was genuine. You know, like it was their thing, you know, and then. But so they developed that look, you know. But
and then it became pop.
You know, and then it became pop. You know, kind of like what, if you think about, like, kind of what country's doing right now,
Yeah.
right? Like, isn't country becoming more pop music
It
than it is
100%.
actual country music? And I don't know.
Nickelback with a cowboy hat.
Yeah, I don't listen to enough of it, so I can't tell you.
Well,
because
it's weird, because a lot of country I listen to now, or I hear now, doesn't feel like country.
No, it feels like Nickelback.
Well, I mean, yes, but it feels more of like how it's transitioned into stadium country, like when that happened in the early 2000s with Keith Urban.
Mm-hmm.
That was his name, right? Yeah.
Keith
I feel
Urban,
like it started with him.
Oh no, it really started with Garth.
Garth Brooks. Yeah.
That's true.
91,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
but Garth was Garth was a pop.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but he was country. But I think like country is
Becoming an image,
we're not
rather.
talking about '88 right now, but I do feel like country is an aesthetic.
Yeah, it's becoming an image more than music.
Kind of like, you know, if you jump ahead a few years, you get into grunge. People talk about grunge music. I always maintain there's no grunge music. Grunge is an aesthetic, and there were a lot of bands that came out of the same place at the time. But you know, Alice in Chains doesn't sound anything like
Nirvana, which doesn't sound like Pearl Jam.
Right. Or,
No.
You know, so they were all the same look. You know, it was an aesthetic because they were all from the same area, and they wore flannels because it was raining a lot. But you know, and it was cold. You
It's
know?
Seattle.
But
Yeah.
but you know, the idea that grunge killed metal killed itself.
Yeah.
A little bit, you know, by becoming too formulaic.
See, we're circling back.
Yeah.
But at the same time, right? Like, you could say '91 killed metal, but it didn't really, because the Black Album came out in '91,
right?
Which is by all accounts probably the most
successful
metal album of all time.
Yeah.
So
the Black Album and Cowboys from Hell both came out in '91.
But even Metallica had to get radio play by '91, right? They had to, you know. Did Rick Rubin do?
Bob Rock.
Okay, so
because he did Dr. Feelgood, and they heard Feelgood and were like, I want him.
So what was the first thing they had to do? They had to shorten the songs, right?
Yeah.
They had to get away from these 8 to 11-minute songs. and then they weren't thrash anymore.
Right.
You know, they had made thrash. like they had become thrash. They created thrash, and they brought it to its what it could be, and then kind of walked away from it and became this. I mean, they were heavy still, but it was a hard rock heavy band, but they were not a thrash band at that point when you heard, the Black Album. So
yeah.
So that's why Justice is, I'm circling it back for you, don't worry. But that's why Justice for me is the favorite Metallica band, because I like thrash metal, and I feel like that's the best thrash metal album ever.
Yeah.
Even without the bass.
Yeah.
But
another thrash band that came out with an album in '88, my favorite Slayer album, South of Heaven. I don't have a physical copy of that one, but yeah, that one or the next one, Seasons in the Abyss, are probably their best. And then '88, revolutionary album, Living Colors Vivid.
I was just about to ask, what was it like when that came out? Because I feel like they just took off right after that, but then it just dipped.
Yeah, well, I mean, so going back to that, like your musical camps thing, right? And different times, right? And so white kids didn't I mean, you could say white kids didn't listen to black music, but that's not true, because rock and roll is blues turned into a pop type music, right? So but you didn't hang out together, and I'm not saying I didn't want to. It's just like musically you were in your camps. That's all I'm saying. Is musically you were in your camps. So they're just so for me to on TV see black kids playing metal, was I guess you call it metal. It was a heavy song.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'd almost consider that hard rock.
Yeah,
hard rock.
With funk, with a little bit of funk in there.
I was gonna say it was
eclectic.
So for me to see that, and cool, they can get into my camp. Maybe I should try to get into their camp a little bit. It was interesting. It was good. It was a really cool album. I mean, and then it got weird. There was one Open Letter to a Landlord.
Open Letter to a Landlord, yeah.
And that just kind of went on forever, right?
Yeah.
Kind of pretty lyrical. I had a hard time getting into that song, but I did like them. I just remember watching it, and remember he had those pants with the doll heads on them. And I was like, what is this crazy dude doing? You know? And I think Cypress Hill was pretty much right around the same time. I don't know if it was 88.
Yeah,
exactly.
Very close, yeah.
But so there were people who were trying to like Anthrax too, trying to push people out of their camps.
Well, the Beastie Boys were 85.
Yeah, get them to hang out, and so the same thing is happening in rap that's happening in metal. People are trying to push people out of their boundaries and get them into it, so yeah, it was an interesting time. I actually wound up seeing Living Color many years later with his uncle. We saw him at a Guitar Fest. It was the Jimi Hendrix Guitar Fest. His sister puts on this annual thing, and they came out, and they didn't. I don't think they played anything off that album, but they rocked. They killed it, man. They killed it. It was probably the best performance there. Well, Kenny Wayne Shepherd played too, though. He killed it too.
Yeah.
Hard not to like Kenny Wayne Shepherd.
Another weird album that came out in '88 that was kind of bridging gaps was, I think, Fishbone came out in '88.
Yep. And they were funk, right?
Yeah, they were kind of the Jane's Addiction, Faith No More vibe, but weirder.
Yeah, I mean, Faith No More, they were that first, what you call rock rap fusion. They were the first ones to do it that I'm aware of. Maybe there was.
They came out in '83, so.
Yeah, they were the first ones to do it. Anthrax had that I Am the Man. That wasn't on this.
That was on an EP that came right after this.
Which I don't care for. I still don't care for that song, but it's just too silly for me. But Faith No More was really good at it, and now as you listen to hard rock and heavy metal, you hear a lot of hip hop inspired lyrics. 333, right? That's all hip hop.
Oh yeah.
And I just don't like the
voice.
But other than that, I mean, but they were the first ones, and it was edgy because of that.
Yeah.
Because what the cool thing about it is because it puts you out of your comfort zone, you don't know how you're supposed to respond to it. You know what I mean? When you get in your camp, especially 16 years old, you're so set on who you are and what that means, right? you already know what your response is going to be, right? You know what I mean? Like, so you could put an INXS song in front of me. It could have been fantastic. I'd be like, it sucks. It's not enough guitar, right? You know, because that's how I was supposed to respond to it. But because like Faith No More was so, you know, it crossed so many boundaries, like you didn't have that pre-made ready response, like so,
right.
So now you gotta listen to it. You know, and the chances are, if you listen to something, if you actually listen to it, you're gonna like it.
Yeah,
you
I
know?
remember listening to
That's
Real
what
Thing
happened.
for the first time, which wouldn't come out for another year from this, '89. But yeah, that record was wild the first time I heard it. Another really important record that came out in '88, and this is probably the last one we'll have time to talk about. But the Traveling Wilburys came out in 1988.
Johnny Popper, right?
Yeah, Tom Petty.
No, that's right. I think somebody else. Yeah.
Tom Petty, Jeff Lynne, Roy Orbison, and George Harrison, I think, was the full band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real super group.
Yeah.
Great songs, didn't sell very well.
Yeah, because, well, it was 1988. You know, it wasn't really what people wanted to listen to.
Right.
Yeah, it was good stuff though.
Yeah. And one last side note, that is my guitar over there, and that is actually a 1988 Washburn EC29. They only made about 2,500 of them from 88 to 89, and they have 29 frets. So, yeah, that's from 1988 as well. Chase, do you have our next year?
Yeah, and it's our most recent, 2019.
Oh, that's going to be interesting.
It might be a short episode.
Yeah.
What's in 2019?
I was going to say, I was trying to look it up, but of course Spotify doesn't help me much because they mix everything up.
Yeah.
Alien Weaponry, maybe?
Yeah, they came out in 2019, Alien Weaponry.
Slipknot's album, We Are Not Your Kind, came out 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That new Anthrax album came out in 19.
That was 16, actually.
Oh, was it? Oh,
Yeah.
Tool.
Yeah.
Tool.
Oh, yeah, Tool came out in 19.
Yeah.
We should get Nick J on here.
Yeah, Tool, Opeth.
Opeth, yeah, I saw them on that tour.
Sabaton.
Oh, yeah, Sabaton, yeah.
Killswitch Engage, which that would be their first album back with
Jesse, yeah.
With
Because
Jesse.
he was relatively new when I saw them, relatively new back when I saw them open for Anthrax.
Yeah, no, so that would
which
be
was
his
18, so yeah.
His first album back.
Power Trip? Were they 18?
Nightmare Logic might have even been 17. I'm not sure. Let me look.
Overkill.
Yeah, Overkill came out
that's
with a record in 2019. Yeah.
Wow, and he hasn't changed. Like
No, they sound exactly the same.
Yeah,
That's
just
funny.
shorter hair. That's
No,
it.
really have to listen to him now that 2 years in a row we got something.
Nightmare Logic was 17, actually.
Oh,
Yeah.
Berserker. Amon Amarth.
Oh, yeah. That's
Yeah.
like their best record. I thought
There you
for a
go.
second, we just watched it the other night. For a second, my mind went to Clerks.
Oh.
Berserker.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, so
It'll be fun.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's
I don't know if I have any physical music from that year, so the set might be a little boring.
yeah, no, well that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
But they all are. We wing everything, and
You can do a
that's
whole
why they
session
showed
just on Amon Amarth, man.
Yeah, probably.
I can talk about that record. Hey, maybe I'll bring. I have a hat that says Berserker on it. I'll
Yeah.
bring
Okay,
that.
okay, there we
Yeah.
go. That way we're not just like empty here.
Yeah.
All right, but then I guess that is how we're gonna wrap up today's episode. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
No problem.
This
no problem.
was,
Thanks. It was great.
A lot of fun. And next week we will be back with the year 2019.
Our most the only year that we've done that wasn't at least like 15 years ago.
Right? I was gonna say this is the second one that I'm gonna be alive for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, second one that I'll be alive for. First one that I'll remember being alive
Exactly,
for.
and that's the thing. Because do I remember 04? No,
Not at all.
not at all.
yeah. The first time I watched your podcast, I'm like, so there's these two kids who have no idea what these years are, like talking about music from these years.
Oh
So
yeah,
it's
no,
like-
but also like.
but it's
that's
interesting
kinda-
because you're bringing new perspectives to it.
No, and that's why I was always wanting to do this, because then we get like you coming on here. It's like, all right, cool. Now we have full stories. Because I had no idea you worked in like a record store or whatever
Oh,
before.
yeah,
So
yeah.
hearing those stories, that's very cool. And
Yeah.
as always, if for some reason you guys want to be on this podcast,
Yeah,
with
hit us up. We're looking for guests.
Yeah, I was gonna say if you're watching on Facebook, YouTube, just leave it in the comments.
If you're listening, hit us up at the email regionbuzz219@gmail.com, or private message us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Region Buzz 219.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
But on that note, we're gonna end this off. We will hear from you guys next week.
Yeah.
Cool.
Oh, we gotta get better at those outros. They're always so sloppy.
All right.
Oh, my legs are sick.
That was cool.
Yeah. I think we went a little bit over that time, didn't we, Chase?
Did I talk too much?
No. No.
Well, the recording's only an hour and 5 minutes,
Oh, that's not bad.
and I had that started before we.
We're making up for lost time in the previous 2 episodes.
Yeah, I was gonna say because we did not meet those, but we will. Next week we might need to record too.
Okay. Since I'm out of town.
Yeah, well, you'll be out of town for 2 weeks, so
Yeah.
we gotta figure that out.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, if we go a week without an episode again, I mean, oh well.
Or just record 2 in 1 week.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what we might do.
I don't know how that all.
Yeah, it was cool, man. Thanks for having me out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,